Hello and welcome to What We're Watching. It's Katherine.
And Liz.
And Ed.
And John.
So I was thinking, you know how normally I go first and I do like all of my shows that I'm watching? Let's do more of like a round robin. So I'll do one and then Liz will do one and then Ed and then John. So, you know, and then we'll go back around.
Okay, that sounds good.
I mean, just more to like mix it up so it's not like 20 minutes of Katherine at the top. I mean, look. You guys always chime in and have lots to say about what I'm watching and things to make fun of me about and all that. So there's a lot of interaction, but I feel like we always wait till the end to get to the boys in particular. So now we'll kind of mix it up. We'll see how it works. If it's too, I don't know, would it be complicated? It doesn't feel complicated.
Or jumbled or hard to like figure out in the edit afterwards.
It'll be fine, right? It'll be fine. Everybody will love it. We'll get so many comments. Everyone will be like, wow, this is the best thing you've ever done. Mm-hmm. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with the show Evil. Ooh. Season 4 has returned. It's on Paramount Plus. Now, here's the dealio. Right now, seasons 1 and 2 are available on Netflix. This season 4 was delayed. Now, I was really looking forward to it. Here's what it's about. It's about a team of investigators who work for the Catholic Church. So it's a priest and a psychiatrist or psychologist. I think she's a psychologist. And a science skeptic type. Actually, the psychologist is also a skeptic. The priest is obviously not. And they are investigating paranormal or supernatural occurrences or things that might be.
So none of them are specifically evil.
No.
They are studying or looking for evil. Oh,
correct.
Okay.
Got it.
Now, in this show, there is very much actual evil in the form of demons and the devil and, you know, represented by characters in this world, a lot of makeup and costuming and looking very scary. It's kind of horror-ish. It would be considered a drama, for sure. And then, you know, like psychological horror on top of that.
But not like gory horror or like bloody. I mean, it's TV, right?
It's TV, although this 4th season is only on Paramount Plus. I think maybe even the 3rd season was only on Paramount Plus. The first couple seasons, or maybe just the first season, aired on CBS. I don't remember. I apologize.
Yeah, I thought it was a network television show. So.
Initially, it absolutely was.
Okay.
It was created by Michelle and Robert King, who have a long relationship with CBS and Paramount Plus and have done multiple shows.
Evil.
And evil. How rude. We don't know. I mean, look, as a Catholic family, it is very interesting because there's so much
sounds
Catholic.
Triggering.
It's kind of fun, though, because, like, you know all the Catholic stuff, and there's various priests and, like, Catholic behind-the-scenes kind of stuff going on. I don't know. I'm kind of into it as, like, a non-real practicing Catholic, but I know all this stuff. That element's kind of interesting. Okay, so back to this priest. He is doing the main investigating, like he's sort of the head of the team, I guess. He is played by, you might know him from Luke Cage. He played the titular character in Luke Cage, which was the Marvel Netflix show.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's Mike Coulter.
I recently saw him in Plane, which he was very good.
Oh, Plane. I don't know that.
It was the Gerard Butler movie.
Oh, okay. Well, you love Gerard Butler. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Okay, so then that priest is then teamed with the psychiatrist who's played by Katya Herb, and she is great. She's super complicated. She's got a lot going on. And then they are with this scientist character who's played by Asif Manvi. So this is a fun team. They have a good dynamic, but they're really thrown into it trying to figure out in each episode if this is like a real thing that's happening or there's some scientific explanation or whatever. But meanwhile, regardless of whatever this episode by episode thing that they're dealing with, there's definite evil going on. And Michael Emerson, who you might remember from Lost, he is really the most evil. He is like,
he always play.
Yeah, he's so good.
I mean, he always plays that.
Whoa, what about Person of Interest?
Oh, yeah, Person of Interest. He was not evil. You're right.
Okay,
But
then.
he was great in that. And he was not evil in Lost, but he was weirdly diabolical.
I'm not sure Lost is actually settled.
Oh, my God. We can't open up a Lost can of worms. Okay, so He in this he's got like a deal with a demon thing. He's working at a corporation that is run by possibly a demon or somebody from hell, or like it sounds jokey when I'm talking about it right now. It's not jokey. They're not joking around. This evil is real. I mean, Michael Emerson is fantastic. He has hooked up with Christine Lottie, who plays the main character, her mother. And she's just a real disaster pain in the ass. She is like up to no good. And I mean, you want to talk about a complicated mother-daughter relationship. This last and final season, which is season 4.
Oh, this is final?
Yeah, it is. Well, I kind of started talking about this at the beginning and then got sidetracked. I was waiting for this season 4 and it got delayed because I had watched seasons 1 and 2, and then accidentally my daughter Sarah, who was sort of side watching, she was like on the couch while I was watching, and then accidentally
Passively
got involved.
watching?
Yeah, she got involved, and then next thing she knew, she was like, now I guess I'm watching this show Evil. I'm like, sorry, but it's really kind of interesting. So then she had to go back and watch the earlier seasons because she's like, who's this? What's going on? Why are there demons? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so anyway, Sarah and I were very excited, and then we were like, are we ever even going to get this last season? So when this season started, just in May, there's 14 altogether in this last season, and not all of them are available currently.
Come on, it's right there, you guys. 13 episodes. Get evil with it.
Exactly. The first 2 seasons were 13 and 13. And then the third season was 10, and then this one is 14. So it's like they really blew it. They should have just done all 13s. What, John?
Confusingly, it might be that season 4 is 9 episodes, and season 5, it's still ending, but season 5 will be 4 episodes.
Oh, that's interesting that they broke it up like that.
And it's only a week after the end of season 4.
Oh, so it's still going to feel like just a continuation of season 4. But maybe that's why there was the delay. And look, I'll take whatever I can get, and I hope they wrap up all these stories because they got a lot of weird stuff going on.
First of all, also, I mean, okay, so he started out as not a priest. He was in the seminary, but he did complete his training at some point.
Yes, this priest character, David DaCosta.
Yeah, you misrepresented.
I'm sorry I misrepresented that he was a priest the whole time. He is a priest currently, but was not in the beginning, which I actually didn't remember. But, you know, I watched this a while ago, earlier seasons. Okay, so basically it's totally bananas. It's in the Catholic Church, like background stuff, which is kind of fun. The other character that is a real standout who came in, I think season 3, she was a new character, is played by Andrea Martin. Who, oh my God, she is fantastic. She plays a nun who can see demons. And she's basically like in the rectory or the like, where do priests live? So convent is where nuns live, but she's like cleaning in the rectory or whatever. And she also beats up demons, which is fantastic. And it is a little comical, but she's really great. So, all right, so that's Evil. Season 4. You can watch.
I mean, I want to watch, but now I'm like afraid to watch it like at night by myself.
No, it's not really that.
I mean,
some of the episodes are creepy, yeah.
Yeah,
but
the promos look real creepy.
That's why I never watched the beginning. And the title of it, Evil.
Yeah, okay.
And the whole Catholicism element.
I mean, you might be right.
Triggering.
I'm thinking back to some of the earlier episodes, and they are pretty creepy. So maybe it's a daytime watch. But I like that right now you can watch seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix. So you can sample it. And then if you don't already have Paramount Plus and you get hooked like I did, and then you're like, no, now I need Paramount Plus because I have to watch it. So, and I did not know that they had split up season 4 and season 5 like that. That's interesting. But okay, so that's season 4 of Evil with the standouts of Michael Emerson and Andrea Martin. Totally recommend, but maybe not at night. Okay, so that's my first show, and now Liz, you do a show.
Wow, we're breaking it up.
I know.
Okay, I've watched a few things, but I'll first initially talk about The Bear season 3 on FX, and then you can watch it on Hulu as well. Is anyone else watching or started season 3?
I have not.
Haven't started it yet.
Did you guys watch season 1 and 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this does seem to pick up right where season 2 left off, where he's Carmy has opened up his restaurant, Bear, in Chicago, converting his sandwiches, like beef sandwich shop, into like what we think should not be a Michelin star level restaurant.
But that does seem to be what
But
he's doing,
high-end.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going real high.
yeah,
end.
Lord.
It seems like a strange pivot from like the sandwich level shop.
Okay, so Jeremy Allen White plays Carmy. And, we sort of see him have almost a breakdown at the end of season 2, gets himself locked in the freezer and so on and so forth. I don't want to do a lot of spoiler alerts if you have not even watched the series. I highly recommend it. The acting, the directing, the scripts, everything's fabulous. And it's really about this young man who comes back to the family beef sandwich shop and converts it to his own restaurant and vision.
Right, and he's a much more highly elevated trained chef versus...
They show some of his background, and it would be equivalent to the French Laundry, Michelin star chef restaurants where the kitchen is very almost borderline militaristic. But they give us a little more insight, too, of the different chefs he's studying with. And some also felt like maybe more back to the earth and natural gardens and that type of element. But a lot of repetition in that level of a chef. You are just picking off the little blossoms off of lavenders or rosemary sprigs. And it's like, oh, yeah.
And that very intricate plating where it's like, I squeezed on a little whatever. Yeah.
And, he doesn't seem to have built the staff around him that can back this up.
This is the sandwich shop staff.
Well, not everybody. Sydney, his co-chef, and basically maybe part owner in the restaurant as well. She's on this journey with him. She will go down this path with him because she has the background.
She's headed towards
everybody else. Cousin Richie. There's this great character that was basically the repairman. Maddie Matheson plays him, and it's Fack, they call him, or something. Yeah, you're trying to make an elephant in a China store work. It's just, there's just elements like that everywhere, right? And then, yes.
Wait, isn't the expression a bull in a China shop? I mean,
yeah, sort of.
An elephant also would be bad in
but
a
he
China
is sort of
shop,
tiptoeing through. But the other chefs, their background, although last season showed them going out and maybe getting more experience. So this first episode gives us a little more insight into Carmy's background. It almost had zero dialogue in it. It was sort of food porn in some ways. But then by episode 2, you kicked into what is the frenetic pace of where you're like, oh, is Carmy mentally ill?
Uh-oh.
I mean, what is happening here? He does this list of non-negotiables that really seem like not possible, and it's going to drive him insane. End of the last season, like I said, I don't want to do spoiler alerts, but he has an issue with the relationship he just started. And so that's going in a loop in the back of his mind and sort of upsetting him. Him and Richie are so combative that you're just like, it is not relaxed watching. And if you ever want to open a restaurant, this could freaking cure you. You're like, never mind. And he does say he wants to go for a Michelin star.
Oh, wow.
Now, the level that you've got to, which is, listen, Michelin stars can be, bestowed upon a taco stand in the middle of El Segundo.
What?
Yes.
No, really?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
I thought they were only for super fancy stuff. I don't know the Michelin star.
No. And
thing.
it's also like James Beard is the same way. Traditionally, they are very high-end, prestigious, for 99% of the world, unattainable restaurants or experiences. But there is this other level that is like, no, you make the best tacos. You make the best, croissant in some small bakery. Or they can be very broad. James Beard is almost the same way. But in order to achieve this Michelin star, it is brutal. You basically have to be sort of perfect.
Ew.
And you got to get on their radar, and they're going to have to come. So that he's decided, like, we're going to go for it. In the first year, the first couple of months they've opened the restaurant, which means, the level of R&D, research and development, is going to drive his sister, the manager, Shug, played by Abby Elliott, insane. And one of the great characters is basically their uncle, the investor, Uncle Jimmy Oliver Platt.
Oh,
it's
my gosh, I love him.
Opened or agreed to open this business to make money.
Yeah.
So, it's a family drama at its core. Mm-hmm. You're also watching Carmen, the head chef, struggle with these mental obstacles that he has going on in the back of his mind and the struggle for perfection. And I think, that can destroy some people.
Yeah.
There's great cameos by some truly famous chefs that if you're like a foodie, you'll recognize them. And like I said, it'll make you question the idea of ever wanting to work in a kitchen, much less open a restaurant. But it is just as enthralling as it's ever been because it's driven by the characters and the acting that you're sucked in. But it is not relaxing. It's not an easy watch.
So that's also not a nighttime watch because then you're trying to go to bed.
And I'll say, like, the origins of the season 1 and 2, by him going for this Michelin star, it's sort of like he's done, well, like I just said, you had this sandwich shop that, like, anybody, no matter class, economic, regardless, could go up and get this sandwich, right? Now, ironically, he's creating this environment, like the neighborhood themselves cannot really partake in it.
Oh.
It's such elevated food that he's going for this level of perfection. You know, it won't appeal to the masses, which then made me question this last season was a little like, that's what's happening here too. Some of what you're going for becomes more unrelatable for most of your audience. And so you're sort of losing us a little bit.
Oh, you mean like relating the restaurant to the actual viewing experience?
Yeah. It was sort of like, I mean, this can be somewhat of an education, but at the same time, people are like, I'm never going to go to a restaurant like that for various reasons. Maybe not even economic. Maybe like, that is not my type of food. I would not want that fancy of experience or that high pressure or like looking at a menu like, what is this? And every night the menu changes. So it's like, all right, figure out something I like on that menu. I'm going to go back.
No.
It's gone. So it's probably its most challenging season so far. I think most episodes are directed by Christopher Storer, and the pace is, that. There's a couple directors this season, but the first few I've watched, that's who's. And actually, the character Sydney, she directs a few episodes too.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah. So still recommend it. Love the Bear, season 3 available on FX and Hulu, and I think all 10 episodes are available now.
I want to jump in and say from last season when we reviewed and recommended the show that one of my big disappointments from the first 2 seasons was they didn't even get started. They hadn't gotten the doors open. They hadn't really gotten the restaurant up and running. I'm like, I want the show to be a tragedy of him burning himself to the ground trying to make it work. So finally during season 3 we're going to get something, but it's not the restaurant, it's not the beef. Maybe that's a good thing for this season, is that they want to show you him really swinging and what happened when he ended up having to come back to the family business, and show you him falling on his face this season and maybe reset and go back to the beef next season. I'd like that.
The beef is not coming back in the sense of that won't take over the whole space, but it is not dead either. I don't want to, spoiler alert, but there's a window that's trying to operate and satisfy what was the customer base in the neighborhood for this famous beef sandwich.
That's good that it's not dead. Yeah.
It's a lot. Some episodes you're like, ugh. And Mark will turn to me and want to watch another one. I'm like, no, I am exhausted. I just watch like family. They all need family therapy. No. Okay. So, all right. So, Ed, do you want to go next?
Well, speaking of family therapy, it is about family. And I'm bringing a big bunch of movies. Really just the last out of the 10 in this franchise, the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh, okay.
In a classic Ed move, I watched all of the movies.
Oh, my goodness.
In the release order. So that meant, watching Tokyo Drift for the second time in my life. But overall, because there's so many crossover characters and they had such a long time to develop, it's not at the 4th season where you're like, I don't know, what are you going to do now? This is like, I watched the franchise go from they had no idea how long they're going to go running for, or how long this drive was going to be.
How long this drive was going to be.
It's not going to be a quarter mile.
It's not. They aren't living a quarter mile at a time anymore, people. From that initial storyline, they did get into crime-solving mystery movies for 2 or 3 there. There was where's Dom in the second movie? He's not in the second movie at all. Not just Tokyo Drift. When they came back, and it's just Paul Walker, which, first of all, I love. What?
He goes to Miami. Dom is not in Miami.
I know.
Okay.
Meaning they loosened it up immediately and allowed more worlds to happen in that franchise. So then by the time they got back to the Fast and the Furious actual group together, by the 5th movie.
The 5th movie?
I know, right?
My
I'm
goodness.
wow, this is why I haven't watched these all in a while, because after the first one, there's 3 in a row that aren't really my favorites. They're just kind of crime spree capers. Okay. But by the time you get back to the 5th one, where I think the 5th one is when they're going to Brazil, and they're doing the bank robbery down there because there's a bad guy. And, of course, that's when The Rock enters this franchise, because he's, an international cop, basically, and he's after them because they've been committing crimes everywhere, but they're actually trying to get a bad guy. So they're criminals getting bad guys. I don't know. Maybe they're the good guys. Whatever. That was like, that's kind of where the franchise reset. But given that I'm saying it's all about family, that really was what they did, was they reset and they incorporated more of the family stories into it. It still is very much a crime spree, mystery-solving, car-driving franchise, which is weird because they do end up in outer space in their car.
How did they end up in outer space?
I hadn't really locked in exactly
In a normal car?
In a normal, well, not exactly normal.
It had to be
It's
adapted.
an adapted, what was it,
my
like a
goodness.
2002, Honda
Civic souped up.
Yeah, that they added a rocket engine to see who could go the fastest. Why?
Oh my
Because we want to
gosh.
see if we can do it.
I mean, am I going to...
can't ruin
question of like
anything. He's been out for 20
oxygen? I
years.
mean, how did they survive?
They had suits on. It was fine.
Oh.
They planned ahead. Anyways, the whole point is that there's just some silliness that happens where initially it was like no silly at all. Just there's a love story happening. There's a real car drama. You don't know what his backstory is. His dad's dead. Dom's a real serious character. I mean, they added fun into it. Thankfully, it got a little bit funnier. By the time the fifth one comes around, you've got a couple of the repeat characters, and some of the characters have like maybe played a little bit too much or had a little bit too much fun. So now they're going for it. For the last 5 movies, it's mostly just that I've really gotten on board with some of the goofy characters that they've added. Yes, Dom's very serious. Yes, of course he's very serious. Yes, Hobbs and Shaw, the other guys, the cops and the bad guy's brother, and all those storylines are very important. But Ludacris and Tyrese are hysterical, and their interplay is like, that's the comic relief that you need for these. And unfortunately, I think that spot was kind of where Paul Walker was. He kind of did bring some levity. He had like a goofy smile, like you're bullshitting me kind of like, I'm going to get away with this. I'm Paul Walker. I'm the franchise. You're not going to kill me. He had like kind of a levity in his character where now he's gone. He died, and they haven't really kind of addressed that in the franchise. He's
still alive.
He's somewhere. He's just not part of
is?
he can't commit these crimes anymore.
Oh, I
can't
thought
live your
within
lifestyle.
So they didn't kill him off within the franchise?
No, they
That's
didn't kill
odd.
him off in the
Okay.
franchise, but they also gave you a whole memorial at the end of like 8 where it's a montage of all the shots of him. And they're telling the audience, we know he's gone. We're also not going to kill him off in some like half-assed storyline that happened in between movies. Mm-hmm. We didn't do it in one of the movies. We're not doing it.
Interesting.
So I did enjoy watching all of his work again, but when I knew that I was going to start missing him in the franchise, and I had kind of lost steam on watching all of them going to the theaters, which is why I was like, I don't think I've watched 9 all the way through.
There's 9?
They
No, there's
are
10.
in space in 9, and for sure that's where I bailed. I just like, they're going to space. I'm not getting in that car or strapping into that ride at all. But no, this is the Fast and the Furious Fast 10, Fast X. Fast 10 your seatbelts.
Fast 10 your seatbelts. I like that. That was good.
But isn't it the 11th movie with Hobbs and Shaw?
Yes, and Hobbs and Shaw is presented by the Fast
It's
and
like
the Furious.
a side movie.
Yes, it's basically, we develop these really fun characters, and if we keep having them, go after our main guys, they're going to catch them and put them in jail. We'll have to have them go after some other criminals. We'll make a story.
Do something else.
We'll do something else.
Which ones are Charlize Theron in?
She's in like the
Cypher?
the last 3 or 4 of them.
Okay, first of all, John, how frequently do you watch these movies? You seem very up on it.
Yeah, look, I've seen them all.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
And I watched Fast
10
10
with
with
me.
Ed when he was ready, because I hadn't seen it yet. There's not too many of them that I've watched many, many times. I mean, Fast 5, I've seen quite a few times. Probably.
That's interesting. Okay.
It's a good one.
Well, because Liz, didn't you recently get sucked in on like an
Yes.
HBO? But I don't think it was 10. It must have been 9, right?
I don't know which one it was.
Well, that's just it. It's like I decided, 10's finally out somewhere. Now I can like lock that down. You got to go to Hulu, Peacock, Max, and I had to grab one off of Pluto to get all
Oh,
9.
wow.
It was a lot of work, let me tell
That
you.
is weird when it's all scattered about.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was. And some of them are like really well branded, and then it stops after the 5th one. You're like, what's up, HBO? Give me a little bit more. No, we're done. We don't have any more. We can license them. Fine.
Those are
All
the
right.
ones we
Wow.
have. Keep looking for the other ones.
I'm highly recommending all those movies. It's not just for car nuts. It's about family, people, and getting away with crimes.
Wait a minute, Ed, have you not seen the 6th season animated show?
No, I didn't realize there was
6
an animated
seasons?
Fast
spin-off.
and Furious Spy Racers.
Listen,
Spy Racers.
I'm a fan of Vin Diesel, and if he's doing a voice in that, I'll probably figure that out. But
I mean, it will have so much emotion.
I know that's
such
actually that's
range.
kind of the
So
joke
deep.
that I was about to go for. As I was watching this franchise, I had to stop and take a note of like, do I just kind of want an all Groot version of everything Vin Diesel has done? Just every line about like, it's about family. I am Groot. I get to see him saying I am Groot in every single one of those lines. I don't live my life a quarter mile at a time. I am Groot.
Yeah.
He could do it. So maybe that needs to exist. Disney, look at
Yeah,
you. You're the
I'm
ones
sure
that could
they'll
do it.
get on it, yeah.
Give me a Groot app so I could just Grootize all the Vin Diesels.
Well, you know what you could do? You could take all of the I Am Groots from Guardians of the Galaxy and then just dub them over and make your own version of this movie where that's all he says.
Vin, are you busy? Do you want to get together? We got a studio. You just come in here and record them. We'll play it
I
back.
love it.
You'll just do I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot.
I'm not signing off on this. Oh my Lord.
All right, so all 10,
All 10.
available, but various
Scattered
places.
all over the place, like some of the car parts from these movies.
Oh my. Okay. So 10 plus the.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
Actually, yes.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And I don't want to ruin anything for anyone. Because in this 10th movie, there is kind of this great backstory and like pullback, which is like, oh, this is a good reason to have watched all of these movies because they're actually pulling back references and resources from these other spots. It's a part 1 of 2.
Oh my gosh, what are they doing?
I know. Whatever. Anyway, so just don't get disappointed that you get to the end of the 10th plus movie and you're like, the story's not over. There's more story.
Son
They
of
put
a.
the brakes on it.
They're not done. Obviously, they're not done. Okay. Isn't Helen Mirren in 1 or 2 of these or something?
She might be the only matriarch in the entire franchise. I don't know that there's another mother. Is there?
First
Wait.
of all, we got
mean, new mother. I'm saying like mother of the cast. The baby's not in it yet.
I'm sure all
That's
of
not
those,
true. He's a little bit in this last one.
those definitely all meant something. But in this last movie, we got a new matriarch. Rita Moreno is Dom's mother.
Right.
That's true.
Right. I did see that in the trailer. Oh, love her. Okay, so we've got Helen Mirren and Rita Moreno in there just as like bonuses. By the time you get to 9 and 10, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. I did remember that Helen Mirren is like a driver too. She's like totally badass driver, which
Of
I
course
thought
she
was
is.
hilarious. I mean, you know.
You know,
Cool.
Everybody in that movie can drive stick. That doesn't even come up once. That
Well.
nobody could drive stick. That hasn't even been a joke. I can't believe they haven't made fun of someone for not being able to drive stick. They get into the driver's seat with Dom, and they're like,
Of course.
"Never mind, you switch, you drive."
Yeah.
That would
Well,
be great.
maybe somebody's significant other in one of the future movies. That would be a funny bit. Like, oh my God, what? So-and-so's girlfriend/boyfriend can't drive stick? What is happening?
I've never had to. I didn't know.
Yeah, most people don't. So, all right, cool. Thank you, Ed. All right, so that means, John, you're up.
Who, me? Okay, so what I did was I went to the theater and saw A Quiet Place day 1.
Ooh, A Quiet Place day 1. All right.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, look, we've already had 2 A Quiet Place so this
Were
is-
they just A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place too?
Yeah,
A
sure.
quieter place?
No, that's rude. Don't say that. So this is a little different because it's not, Emily Blunt and family. It's all very separate. We're now back at the beginning, day 1, when it happened.
Day 1. Well,
Or-
wait, what was Quiet Place 2? Because that was a prequel, right? Was that not the day 1 prequel?
It was not a prequel.
Oh, I thought it was. I remember that there were like flashback scenes in the trailer, so it wasn't.
That might have been just because of John Krasinski. But I believe, having not seen it recently and not looked this up, that it is not a prequel in any way.
So I'm wrong.
Well, I could also be wrong. Anyway, this is strictly a prequel and also goes before day 1, I believe.
Pre-day 1.
A lot of things might have happened on day 1 if actually all of that was day 1. That might be true. That's interesting. We got maybe, 6 hours of that day, collapsed down. Anyway, so Lupita Nyong'o is so good. And then we have she makes a friend eventually that she doesn't really want to make. She has a lot of people that she doesn't want to be friends with because she is sick in this movie. She
Sick,
is
like ill, you mean?
ill.
Ew.
Yes.
Oh, no.
That's kind of part of the setup of the character, which makes a lot of sense, and it kind of gives you a different perspective. She's not exactly trying to survive in the same way that a normal person might. So brings a different perspective to her journey. So anyway, this guy ends up basically following her like, well, you kind of have it figured out. I don't know what to do, and I'm scared. Joseph Quinn, who we know from Stranger Things. It's a different kind of apocalypse movie because they're not trying to survive in the normal way. They're like on this side mission that has nothing to do with like, well, that's not going to get you the rest of your life safe. What are you doing?
Interesting.
Yeah. So in the end, the one of them who isn't terminally ill does move towards things that will keep him alive. So that's good. But otherwise, it's really good. It's kind of a fun, not on a main storyline, just a whole side mission of a movie.
Do you need to watch 1 and 2 of Quiet Place to watch this one?
Not really. You're going to understand slightly more, but they explain the way the monsters work and what's happening in this world. And so you get it all. I had forgotten because it had been so long since I'd seen Quiet Place 2. They run into a character there, Digimon Hansu's character, and he's in this one. And it's where,
really?
Yeah, so kind of
His origin story.
Yeah, a little bit, which they're not like focusing on, and they don't fully connect all the dots, but they give you enough to like, oh, okay, you're seeing how because he's in the same place as Lupita at the very beginning, and then, kind of his first reactions and like first movements, and then you lose him for a little while, and then you pick up again and like, oh, well, that could get you where we see you in a different movie. So that was pretty interesting.
Nice. I love him.
And
He's
John
so great.
Krasinski and then Emily Blunt are not in this one.
Not one little bit.
Okay.
Not even
All right.
a teeny bit. Did he direct it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
And not even like, 10-year-old versions of them, like young versions of them.
it's not a prequel like that. It's not, whatever. They're the same age as they would be. But no, I don't know the exact story, but apparently he did get story by credit. So he worked with the guy who directed it and wrote it on the story, who he then took and made the screenplay of it, Michael Sarnowski, who's made a couple other movies. So the one thing I didn't realize, and I'm admitting it. So
Admitting? Oh, wow. Okay.
there's a cat in this movie that plays a exceptionally large part.
The cat?
Cat.
Okay.
Who is named Frodo. And guess what Lupita kind of goes by, though you don't hear it very much? Sam.
That's pretty funny.
So
Okay.
Sam and Frodo, apparently.
I didn't know about what the cat connection was, but I did see some interviews. I'm like, they have a cat, and they're interviewing the cat, and that interview's over. They didn't get any answers from the cat. All right, it is a quiet place, though. That made sense. Cat was not very talkative.
The cat did an incredible job. At the beginning, when life is slightly normal, it is on a leash, but whatever.
The cat is on a leash? Okay.
People do that, Katherine.
I know. People do that.
This is in New York City, so
Yeah.
actually, if the cat's going to go outside,
Okay.
good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is apparently played by two cats, Nico and Schnitzel.
Aw, Nico and Schnitzel, that's so cute. Although it does remind me that there was a significant cat in Ripley that was just like sitting in the not hotel, but like at the apartment building. And they would just take shots of this cat looking at the elevator and watching him walk through the hall, like whatever.
This is a much more active
An active
participant.
cat. Got it. Okay.
That was definitely like, the B unit guy. Well, I got 17 hours of this cat footage. Are we going to use it?
Yeah,
No.
just cut that in.
Hold on. Maybe we could use it in this scene. Oh, that's a good use of my cat footage. Thank you.
Yeah, it was very arty cat footage. Okay, so this is an active cat. This cat is really involved in the story.
That's true.
Okay.
So there you go. That's the movie. You should go see it.
All right, so now I'll do some more stuff. My turn again.
Okay.
Okay, so I just finished season 2 of Outer Range. I talked about it before when season 1 was available. This is a Prime Video show. It stars Josh Brolin, and he is a Wyoming rancher. And it's kind of a feud between two families who have ranches like right next to each other. It's the Abbotts, which is the Josh Brolin character. His first name is Royal, which I kind of like, Royal Abbott. And then the Tillersons. And there's more flashbacks in the second season than there were in the first season. So you get a little bit more of their backstory, that they've known each other since they were young and all of that. But in the current time, on the Abbott Ranch, Josh Brolin his character's ranch, there is a mysterious black hole that opens up every once in a while. And there's definitely like some time travel thing that is happening.
So it's not just a hole in the ground. We're talking actual astronomical black hole.
It is colored black. So it's not like sucking in, it's not a black hole in like it's sucking in energy. So not like a black
time hole, a wormhole.
But then there is time travel, so...
Yes, if you...
So give me the physics.
I don't have them
stop.
handy.
The question,
Please.
is it a hole on the range?
A hole on the range,
Catherine,
exactly. Yeah,
I need
what?
the whole truth.
Oh my God. Okay.
Get back on track. So
Okay,
this is
so if you fall into or jump into this hole, you don't know where you're going to end up or what's going to happen. Now, it is revealed, this is a bit of a spoiler, in the first season that Royal Abbott, Josh Brolin's character, has come out of the hole when he was like a kid, maybe like 9 or 10, from a different time. So he's from like almost 100 years ago and then just kind of joins this Abbott family and becomes a ranch hand and then ends up marrying the daughter of the owner of the ranch. So we don't realize in the very, very beginning that he's traveled in time through the hole and knows what the hole is. We just come to realize like, oh, he's not as shocked as he should be that this weird, mysterious hole has shown up on his property. He knows what it is, kind of. So we get more of his backstory. His wife's character is played by Lily Taylor, who is fantastic in this. It's all very ranch and cowboy. There's some bull riding sub-stories because he has 2 sons. One is a bull rider. There's a lot of fighting between the 2 Abbott sons and the Tillerson sons. They're all really interesting characters. And then in season 1, this mysterious young woman shows up. Her name is Autumn, and she's played by Imogen Potts, and she's great. And then in the second season, we extend our understanding of who she is and why she's here. She might be starting a cult around this mysterious supernatural thing.
Fine. It's a holistic cult.
Oh, jeez.
So it's really cool. It's very supernatural and interesting. The other character I want to mention is Sheriff Joy, and she's played by Tamara Podemski. And she's great. And she has a big, big storyline this second season. So that's been really satisfying. So I would definitely recommend it. It's only 2 seasons, available on Amazon Prime. The first season was 7 episodes, and the second season is 8 episodes. So that's Outer Range. Okay, you're up again, Liz. Oh, wait. Maybe I should just do all the rest of my junk.
How much more do you have? Wow.
Well, I did want to mention this fantastic documentary. It's on Netflix. It's called Outstanding, A Comedy Revolution. And it's about the history of stand-up comedy in the LGBTQ plus community. And it's fantastic. It's interviews with the participants in this 2022 special, which is also available on Netflix, Stand Out, an LGBTQ plus celebration. And so it's an amazing list of both icons and newer voices within the stand-up community. And it was so good. So just I'll just list off some of the people who are in it. Specifically, this new documentary that was just released, the interviews are incorporated sort of around the event of this special that they shot. So they don't really show the special, but then you can just go and watch the special separately, which I watched when it was released almost 2 years ago, which is great. So both available on Netflix. But in this documentary, the interviews, I mean, this list is incredible. Lily Tomlin, Robin Tyler, who I didn't know who that was. She's a historical, groundbreaking comedian, was out in like the 60s. Just amazing. Sandra Bernhard, Judy Gold, Eddie Izzard, Tig Notaro, Margaret Cho, Rosie O'Donnell. It just keeps going. Joakim Bowser, Mae Martin, Wanda Sykes, Fortune Feimster, Billy Eichner, Patty Harrison, and someone you know, Guy Berman.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. He's also one of the writers on Hacks.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's amazing in this. And I just love everybody being able to give their perspective on who influenced them and who sort of encouraged them just by existing, that they could like see these people being in the stand-up world and think, oh, I could do that. I could do that. He was great. And additionally, Trixie Mattel and Bob the Drag Queen. So, I mean, what a fantastic, fantastic group of people. The stand-up special from 2 years ago totally worth watching, amazing. And then this documentary, also fantastic, in a different kind of way, because it gives a lot more history and perspective. Okay, so I guess that's it for me for now. All right, Liz, you want to do whatever else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just have 2 documentaries that I watched. They can be triggering both in their subject matter, and they interview one of the characters or one of the subject matters and put her in a light that might be upsetting to people. So the first one I watched was Tell Them You Love Me on Netflix. And it's a story of a Rutgers University professor. Her name is Anna Stubblefield, basically helping a nonverbal, he had cerebral palsy, so he really couldn't do anything for himself, Derek Johnson. And the very controversial method called facilitated communication.
Oh, sure. I've heard of it.
Right. When it was developed was keyboards. And, some people will be so locked in their brain due to all types of disabilities, autism, like I said, cerebral palsy, all these different things. And it would basically be a facilitator would help the, Derek in this case, do a keyboard. And you're supposed to think these are their thoughts and they are doing it. It's only being guided. So Anna Stubblefield comes in because his older brother, Derek's older brother, basically hears her give a lecture at Rutgers. And he's like, wow, this is my brother. This could be incredibly helpful. And she comes in and introduces FC, which is a facilitated communication, and Daisy Johnson, the mother. I mean, they feel like she's unlocked Derek. And he ends up attending college, getting a degree, like all these amazing things happen. But in the process of that, Anna falls in love with him. And she was a married white woman, and Derek is a young black man when this starts. And young, I mean, like nothing
inappropriate, just
age-wise, but capacity-wise, a lot of people did not believe he was able to consent. So that's sort of what the series is about was he ever able to consent? Was the FC facilitated communication led by her, or was it really Derek? Facilitated communication, you learn this process, has been mostly debunked. For the most part, it can work for some people, but Derek, they don't believe he probably was able to achieve what he did by this process. So that was kind of disheartening. And she ends up going to trial and getting prosecuted and sent to prison. It was something like the original term was like 12 years, and she appealed and it was 2. And she still feels like she did absolutely nothing wrong starting this basically affair with him, when both the brother and the mother were like, he has no capacity to consent to this. So it was a very challenging documentary to watch, because the initial hope that Derek had been unlocked and was living a much more fulfilled, or what we condone as a fulfilled life, was so hopeful. And you thought, what an amazing possibility this FC can bring to people. And then to have it not only disproven, but almost to be a damaging element was really disheartening.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a fascinating. It's also sort of like a crime element because of the Anna Stubblefield. This is where I say it's a bit triggering. They interview her, and she really does not take any accountability.
Ugh.
She really does not feel like she did anything wrong. She still believes Derek was the Derek that she fell in love with and was able to communicate and all these, through the FC and other, it's so hard to know because some of it was just the 2 of them in the room. But she's very frank about how she talks about it. So it's a little off-putting at times. You're like, oh my gosh. So it's fascinating. But it is, like I said, it's somewhat upsetting. But it's called Tell Them You Love Me. And that's basically because she wanted Derek to prove it. But
wow.
And the court case and all that entailed. So yes, so that's available on Netflix. So then the other documentary I watched, there were a couple places I saw it recommended, then I heard about it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch it on HBO Max. 6 Schizophrenic Brothers.
Oh, I heard about this.
Oy, oy, oy. There's another one. Like, you gotta be in the right mood for this. I mean, it's a lot. So
Can I watch the dramatized version with like Ryan Reynolds playing like 8 characters, or what was the could we just get like Hitman and get like those different characters? We don't actually need 60. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say this would be hard to take into the scripted zone because it is so almost unbelievable and also just so sad. So this family, the parents Dawn and Mimi Galvin, basically he's in the military and they get assigned to Colorado Springs, which immediately sort of off-puts the mom because she was a woman that enjoyed culture and society, and she felt that none of that existed in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
But military, you get assigned where you're going to get assigned, and that's it. They go on to have 12 kids.
That's a lot.
Right. And 6 of the boys were then afflicted with schizophrenia. And, schizophrenia for young males usually comes in late teens, early 20s. A lot of times they go off to college, they're by themselves, and they start acting erratic, so on and so forth. That because they're unchecked and maybe don't have the routine and certain things that maybe kept them, you didn't notice, even though their behavior at times was really inappropriate or off the charts. You're like, well, okay, the family structure could keep it more in line. You go off to college, and that's why a lot of times this happens. And they were all athletes and, picture perfect. I mean, they'd all be dressed beautifully, all lined up, and you just think, but, we, having grown up in a household, 8 kids, there are elements of it. I was like, yeah, you cannot keep track of 12 kids as a mom. It's physically impossible. And she had very high expectations of what was like the cleanliness of the house and how they were to behave, which you're like, you had 12 kids. It's like that's insane. So through that process, they talk about the 6 sons that were afflicted and basically were diagnosed with schizophrenia at varying ages. One was like as young as 14, was this awful, and how they would act out. A lot of it was violence, whether against each other or other people. And what happened to the 6 brothers.
When is this taking place? Is this a current thing that happened?
No. The family originally was like the 1960s into the 70s and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but now they are interviewing them. Primarily one of the sisters. There's only 2 daughters. 10, the rest are all boys.
Oh, wow.
And the daughters are the last 2 kids. So one of the daughters does participate, and she breaks your heart. She's taken on, the mother basically cursed her, like, please watch after the boys.
Oh, geez.
You're like, girl, oh God, break free of this curse, basically.
So how old are they all?
They all appear to be like in their late 50s to 70s if they're still alive.
Okay, that makes sense.
Most of them, more than half the family is gone.
Oof.
And it talks about the nature versus nurture of schizophrenia. It talks about certain factors and trauma that can play into it.
Wow.
And they look back at some of the boys like, oh, one of the boys got in a fight with the younger one and caused a severe brain trauma. And basically did that trigger his schizophrenia. So there's just elements like that. And the nurture element, they look back at the mom and they're like, some of her behavior, now we look back at it through a different lens, she might have had some mental health issues that were undiagnosed. And so it's heartbreaking. Another one, I'm like, I don't really feel like there's a happy ending in the end. It was like,
when do you watch these things that you're okay to be like, I can watch these really dark, heavy documentaries? Do you watch them during the day? When do you?
Yes, during the day. And one of the things that, because they all basically went through the same facility in Colorado, there's DNA that they are now studying from all these boys to try to understand schizophrenia and the nature versus, and they all had something in their DNA sequence like, oh, that's different. Okay. All 6 of those had that.
I don't know where we're at in the world of schizophrenia. Do we feel like it is a genetic disorder that is passed down in families? It feels like that's part of what happens.
That's what they're studying to try to understand. It's so rare that in one family, half the family is afflicted by this.
Wow.
So it's like they're quote like the most mentally ill family in like history. So, and what it did to the other siblings to basically grow up in this, cacophony of, because the oldest son, Don, comes back and basically lives with the family. And, so one of the younger daughters ends up just moving out with another family. Another daughter, there was sexual abuse, not by Don, but another brother. There's just so many elements. You're like, oh my gosh. So I guess the hope of it in the end is that the DNA testing and things can be learned from them.
Yeah.
And then the one sister who basically has overseen the brothers and tried to kind of keep them, in check or at least being taken care of to some degree. But they're all, they were interviewed and they're like all still very mentally ill, even though they'll say like, oh, I'm cured. That's not anything I've got to worry about anymore.
Oof.
No. She has a son, and it talks about, then you kind of think about the nurture, because she's had these brothers, she's talked about, they've been so impactful in her life, the boys, the brothers, that her son has just felt like he's had this cloud curse over his whole life. Like,
Oh, wow.
He goes, basically, when I turn 26 years old, I'll feel like the luckiest guy alive if I haven't become, diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, okay, maybe that should have been handled differently. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she was so trying to take care of the brothers because her mom told her to, that he was exposed to them and he heard probably way too much about them for his young, impressionable brain. And you're like, and so my hope, my prayer is that young kid, even if he is diagnosed, navigates it differently than his uncles. But the real prayer would be that he does not get diagnosed with it. So it's a fascinating documentary. It is 4 parts, and it's available on HBO Max.
So it's sort of a series. I mean, it's not just like a one documentary movie. It's multiple parts.
4 episodes, yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay, on that note, Ed, what else you got?
Some real uplifting documentary
I
recommendations.
know, Liz. I'm worried for you. How are you
Sorry.
watching these and then be like happy and okay?
Interesting, because I'm for sure not going to pick either one of those up. I appreciate that. I've seen the title of the 6 Schizophrenic Brothers. I'm like, I got 2. We're halfway there. Let's not even figure out.
What?
I'm the third of the 3 brothers. There's 6. I don't even want to know what our odds are. Anyways, but I do enjoy taking recommendations from this podcast and watching the stuff. And even sometimes I'll go a little crazy. This isn't actually the thing I'm bringing next. It's just a short recall. We all watched Damsel, or a bunch of us watched Damsel.
Yeah, we
correct?
did. Yeah,
I
that's
had
the
yet
Millie
to
Bobby
watch
Brown
it.
movie.
I had yet to watch it, and she is very loud. She's very vocal the entire time. You could just do an audio track with no dialogue of her noises. You were not wrong. However,
I mean, that dragon,
prepare-
how is it not going to just be like, where is she? Got it.
Got it. She's right over there.
She would not have survived The Quiet Place.
Yeah, the amount of
Oh,
times
The
I'm
Quiet
like,
Place.
where are
Yeah.
you? I
Yeah.
can smell you, but my ears have got wax in them, so I don't know. I can't hear you. All right, you've covered up. I don't know where you are. I'll be back later. And she's like right next to his foot.
Oh, my
Whatever, it's fine.
God.
So suspension of disbelief.
Well, hold on.
Wait.
Remember, the
Yes.
gender of the dragon, it's a female dragon that is very important in the story. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the part of that I was latching onto wasn't that was this great movie I needed to watch and re-review. It was that it was somewhat inspired by Dragonslayer, which I also went and watched all of Dragonslayer.
Oh, my goodness.
With Peter McNichol.
Wow.
Who's pretty hysterically like not being the funny Peter McNichol that we know. This was a serious role for him back then.
Well, first
he
of
was
all,
like the leading man.
Can I interject and just say thank you, because I was the one who was like, it's totally inspired or parallel storytelling of Dragonslayer, and all of you were like, what the hell is Dragonslayer? Okay, so where is it available? How did that even happen? Good for you and thank you.
Once again, Pluto for the win got me there.
Pluto
which
for
just
the
means,
win.
you're going to get some commercial breaks in it. Peter McNichol's great. Go check him out. It's not his, Ghostbusters Vigo, but it's still pretty good. He's enjoyable. But yeah, Ralph Richardson as the original magician who's like the one that knows how to do stuff. He's great. I love him in things. He's a quite old actor, but he's maybe in the first 10 minutes, and he wraps it pretty fantastically. Like in the 80s, if they had like, oh, this magician, he knows about dragons and everything, and then he's dead in the first 10 minutes.
Oh,
You're like,
geez.
wow, okay. We're off to the races then. So that's why Peter McNichol's storyline and whatever, and okay, fine. So,
Okay, so just confirm for me, was I right that it was a dragon and they had to like give it virgins or whatever?
the daughter who's figuring her own thing out and was going to be given to the dragon. That plot line is not in this movie, but it is a terrible king or prince or, you know, lord of a town who made a deal with the local dragon that once a year they'd be giving up some meat and you won't be eating our crops.
Okay.
I mean, not a great deal, but that's the gist of the crossover for those two.
Okay.
He's the main character, and the entire premise of the Dragonslayer movie is that if you dress your daughter like a boy, then you didn't have a daughter. So it's like the firstborn daughter of the mayor of the town has been dressed like a boy their entire life and is outed during this whole thing. And then it's like, well, then we got to give you to the dragon then because you're firstborn, even though we just found this out. And we've definitely fed the dragon when you were up previously. Now you're up now.
Wow, I didn't remember that. That's interesting.
Whatever, it's the 80s plots. They're not complicated. It's like, this girl is now the dragon food. Darn. Shoot.
So
And then-
inspo for sure.
Yes,
for
yeah,
Damsel.
yeah. And then
Okay.
Peter McNichol is basically apprentice magician, and he's going to go and try and kill this dragon.
He is very much not the magician yet. He is not even like on the level of apprentice. The magician is like, no, it's cool. You could go make food now.
Oh,
like
no.
you're helping. Go away and help.
Which sucks because now that magician is dead.
He's dead.
Dude.
So then Peter McNichol's character is just all bravado and I've got it, and he doesn't many, many times.
He don't got it. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Well, that is very
So-
fun that you went and found that.
Wasn't
Cool.
trying to expand that into a whole segment, but I did go back and watch Dragonslayer and Damsel.
Love it.
Somewhat correlated storyline between those two. Not actually like the same director or anything.
No. I just felt like there was a relationship in my
was.
brain.
There was.
Whether, yeah, okay.
But I do want to actually recommend, kind of on Liz's very sad downer, not interested in these kinds of things. I saw a recommendation for a sci-fi movie called Aniara, Aniara. It's a Swedish sci-fi movie, so it was all subtitles.
Oh,
So that
okay.
was, there's a little bit of extra challenge. Not everybody was speaking in that, so sometimes there was some English speaking. But the recommendation was, this is a really interesting sci-fi. You should go check it out. It's kind of deep. It's kind of dark. It doesn't end well, and you're gonna see the red flags. They're just up. The red flags are up, and you're just barreling through them the entire way through. Oh!
Oh, jeez.
But the funny part about it is, no one revealed that it's essentially the exact same plot line, but no happy ending, which we assume that there's got to be some happy ending version of Avenue 5 from HBO Max.
Oh.
If you remember Avenue 5, it's a cruise ship that has some issues happen, and they're not quite able to recover from their issues, and then they didn't actually finish it with their end of season 2. So we don't have a storyline wrap
Yeah, we
up
don't
on that.
know how it was going to end up.
But, we like those characters. They're funny. We like Josh Gad. We want him to live, despite the fact that he can't figure out what the delay is. Are we working on the delay? That it doesn't look like in that franchise it's going to go particularly well, which maybe they would have figured it out and not ended that way. In this movie, it goes very, very badly. It goes very badly. There's a minor issue, and they get sent off of their, course. They're the last of humanity that's on the last ship off of the beaten up Earth that they're just abandoning. We're going to figure it all out on Mars. We got it all set up. There's a bunch of people there. We're off. We're going.
Whoops.
So there's like a skyrise's worth of people in this ship that's now off on its way slowly to Mars. Yeah, it gets hit by something.
Oh, no.
And I know that I love these in movies, usually when they give you like a card that tells you how time has passed and there's a new update, you're moving forward. You don't need to watch these 5 years. Oh, my goodness.
Bad things
Some
happened
of
in
the
5 years.
update cards were staggering that's where we're at now. Because the initial premise is we're going to find another big object. We're going to loop around that. We'll get back on course at maybe like somewhere between 4 months to 18 months off of our 6-week trip. And everyone's like, oh my God, we're going to die. This is the worst. And it was like, nah, it's fine. It's fine. Eventually, they have some of the same moments where like there's real conversations with the people in charge of these things. And they're like, yeah, well, then everything's just going to taste like, eels, because that's what generates all of our food. We're going to run out of the flavor. That flavor joke that they needed flavor for
In
their
Avenue
food
5,
in Avenue
yeah.
5, that's right in this. It's not even like funny. It's like, no, this is going to be horrendous. All of our society is going to unravel because we can't provide more than just basic amino acid and protein. No flavor.
Ooh, oh, gosh.
It's just one bad news update after the other. And at the point at which there's a flash card 24 years later, you're like, oh my
24!
God! They didn't figure anything out. They didn't figure anything out.
Oh, no.
Well, it was not disappointed by this is going to end badly. This is a sad
It's nice
sci-fi.
to get the
Just had the
update.
heads
Yeah,
up.
I was going to say, it's nice to get the heads up
Yeah.
that it's not going to go good.
Well done, good sci-fi. Just all the wrong turns that should happen, and you get to see the aftermath of that. And it's just like, we're gonna figure this out. There's an object. It's possibly a thing. No, they never give you the update on that because they didn't figure it out. They didn't get into whatever the object was.
Yeah.
There's just an update later. Abandoned. Everything that just scrapes along the side, and then equipment on the ground just off. Forget it. We couldn't figure it out. Wow,
geez.
that's a rough ride. Oof. There might have been like a short counterpart somewhere of like the Mars colony going, "Did you see what you?" Uh-oh. Just
Aw.
like the if there were a news story that had continually updated about the Gilligan's Island 6, it's really sad. It's been the 10-year anniversary since the Gilligan's Island crew. I mean, we wouldn't know them as Gilligan's Island. It was the SS Minnow. The SS Minnow crew is lost at sea. If there had been something that was keeping you sad about it, then, that show might have not been such a happy show. But that show's totally happy. You don't know that the rest of the world thinks they're dead for 40 years. Oof. So anyways, it feels like there's a very sad Mars colony view of this ship of all of the people that were supposed to show up and help us build more of our society. They're gone. Well, where are they going? Nowhere. That's terrible.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Anyways,
wow, sounds fun.
I don't want to recommend it, but if you like sci-fi, it's a good sci-fi. It's not any harder to watch than The Quiet Place. That doesn't sound fun either.
All right. Okay. Interesting
There we go.
and kind of dark. And I don't want to try and go to Mars and get knocked off course.
Nope.
Is the upshot of
That's
that.
the upshot of that.
Yeah. Okay. John, what's up?
Okay, this is not exactly as concise of a version of watching something again, but I kind of watched an example of something that I guess I'm going to bring up.
Okay. So this is technically a rewatch?
I think technically yes.
Okay. So I should have prefaced this by, John, do you have a rewatch that you'd like to share with us?
That's your choice. I don't need that.
Okay.
So I watched The Choice. It's a romantic, romantic comedy maybe, I don't know. So it's from 2016, but perhaps more importantly, it's a Nicholas Sparks movie.
Oh, my. Okay.
So, it's funny. There are movies that you think are Nicholas Sparks movies, or, for someone like myself who conflates some of these genres and destinations, they're not all Nicholas Sparks movies.
That is true.
This is one. Now, there are multiple that I do like a lot. This one, I don't know if I can say that I have a favorite.
Well, first, it makes me
Tell
want to
me.
know what Nicholas Sparks movies are you referring to that you would consider on your favorite list?
Well, this is tough. I don't know if I should say all these things because I haven't seen.
You definitely should.
I haven't seen a bunch of them.
Well, I think you can pick from the ones that you know and enjoy. Because honestly, I can't even remember which movies are Nicholas Sparks movies, so I need you to remind me.
Yeah, so it goes Message in a Bottle. That was
Okay.
Kevin Costner. A Walk to Remember. So Mandy Moore.
Okay.
The Notebook. I mean, I guess we know what that is. Nights in Rodanthe.
What's that one?
That's Richard Gere, and the woman was Diane Lane.
Okay.
Dear John. Mm-hmm. Then The Last Song. Then The Lucky One, which that's not the first one I've seen, but I haven't seen a bunch of those earlier ones.
This is a quite extensive list. So you have not seen all of these?
Not seen all of the earlier ones, but The Lucky One I think is very good. Then we have Safe Haven, which I like a lot. I think that's very good. Then we have The Best of Me, The Longest Ride, which is also pretty good, and then The Choice.
Wow, this is a lot. This is a lot more Nicholas Sparks movies than I realized.
There seems like there should be more, but apparently there's not. There's like 4 more that are upcoming. There hasn't been one since 2016. It's kind of
4
crazy.
more.
Yeah.
Wow, he's...
Always based off his books, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's got a lot of books, so...
Yeah. So this one is, these neighbors that seemed like they really rubbed each other the wrong way and would never get together.
I mean, that's what it seemed like, but...
Yeah. Then it turns out, they're dogs who also, could have been problematic. Then it turns out that was not a problem. And then
Oh my God, I think I listened to this book.
Was he a vet? And he worked at his dad's veterinarian
Yeah,
office?
I think so. I think I listened to this book. I mean, I'm not going to be mean about it, but it might have been the last Nicholas Sparks book that I listened to.
That's outrageous. You should see the movie because it's very fun.
No, okay.
So anyway, then they get together. But then also, and look, I mean, not all of these have kind of a huge problem or like whatever.
Obstacle or whatever to the relationship.
A lot of them kind of do. They're always obviously a little bit different. But in this one, this lady who at this point, we've now skipped ahead. They've gotten married. They have kids. And then she has a terrible accident and is in a coma or whatever, unconscious, I don't know, something. And then he has to decide about whether he's going to resuscitate or, not resuscitate her, but let her, they've reached the 90 days of you got to take her off life support.
Whew, okay.
But then magic happens and she's fine. So that works out pretty good.
That's handy that magic happens.
Yeah. Then she's totally fine, remembers everything. They don't do a long rehab thing. She walks around and everything's great.
What was the choice? Whether or not he was going to pull the plug?
I believe
or
the choice
what?
was whether he was going to rebuild the tranny in Gertrude or buy a Prius. Oh, wait a minute. That was a joke. No, the choice was whether he was going to turn off life support or not.
Ooh. And then luckily, magic. So it worked out.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So that's been, it goes back and forth on different streaming platforms. I actually crossed over, even though it was like the first of the month and then the second of the month, it somehow went off one streaming onto another, which was very unhelpful. But apparently right now it's on Hoopla, which you can get from your library.
I love when things are available on Hoopla. It's Hoopla and Canopy. They have two streaming services, and I've watched.
Never even heard of them.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. They have a very extensive library, even surprisingly newer things.
Canopy, I watched Past Lives there.
Past Lives, yep. Mm-hmm. On Hoopla or Canopy, it might be interchangeable.
I'm saying Hoopla. You can say Canopy however much you would like.
I like to say Canopy because I did watch something recently on Canopy. And
question for those type of streaming is a library card. I mean, what's your membership?
Yeah, it's if you have a library card, you then go to their website and you log on and you put your library card in. And for Canopy, there's an interesting thing where you get a certain amount of tickets that you can use per month. Okay. So they kind of try and control how many you have checked out or are viewable.
That's very cool.
It's very, and they do have like newer things and surprising old things. What I was going to say about Canopy is that they send me an email that I, enjoy seeing. I don't usually go and watch any of this, but it's like, what you should watch this weekend on Canopy. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
I love
You've got some cool stuff. But then I usually don't watch it. So I have other things going on. But thanks, Canopy, for the thoughts.
Okay, that was what I watched.
Well, that's great. I do have one last little thing that I'll throw in, which is a rewatch or a throwback or whatever we want to call it. So I gave an update a couple weeks ago that Adam went with his social group, my adult son with autism, to see Inside Out 2. And so before he went to go do that, we watched Inside Out, the original, at home. And this was a big deal that he could sit and watch a movie. It's a real change for him. And so I'm trying to institute more of like a family viewing once a week, even if it's just me and him by family, sure. And so this week we watched Paddington. Oh my gosh.
Such a good one.
It's so good. I had forgotten how good it is. Now, I was inspired to watch Paddington specifically because Adam really likes to go on YouTube and like watch things over and over and over. And the bathroom sequence where Paddington floods the bathroom and like whatever, he's watched that a bunch of times. So I'm like, I know I can hook him in on Paddington because I know he likes this sequence. But he watched the whole movie, was really paying attention, seemed very interested in it, thought things were funny. When we got to the bathroom scene, he was like, not amazed, but he was so, you could just see, he was like, this is where this comes from. Like, I
got the context.
Yeah, the bigger picture of it was so cool. And then about 10 minutes after, he did then grab the remote and rewind and want to watch it again. I'm like, no. Let's watch the whole movie, and then you can go back and watch that scene as many times as you want. So, I mean, what a good movie.
Did you have any marmalade while you were watching it?
I did want to make marmalade afterwards. I was like, what if I just...
Chia marmalade?
I did think, like, I could make stevia sweetened marmalade. This would be genius.
Just buy it.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. That's so non-me. I need to make it complicated. All right. So for anybody who doesn't remember Paddington or didn't see it, it was a 2014 live action, and then Paddington was a CGI character in this live action movie.
Wasn't real?
He was not real.
That was
John.
not a real bear.
No, it was not a real bear.
Okay.
So the cast, just to remind people, we've got Hugh Bonneville playing the dad. who was fantastic from Downton Abbey. Most people know him. Sally Hawkins, who plays the mom, who was in Shape of Water. The two kids are very good. Then also Julie Walters plays, I believe it's like an aunt or somebody who like is also living in the house. They call her Miss Bird. And then I had totally forgotten that Nicole Kidman is this real terrible character. She's like a taxidermist, which I don't know how much Adam understood that part of it, but the stylistic that she was so evil, and then her weird relationship with that she cultivates with the neighbor to get him to help, which is Peter Capaldi, was hilarious. Mr. Curry. I mean, it was a really, really good movie. I was a little disappointed to realize that Paddington 2 is not available on Netflix, because I really want to cue that up next, because that's got Hugh Grant in it, and it is apparently amazing because I never saw it. So I would like to see that. So I'll have to do a little more investigating and get on that. Okay, and the last little shout out cast-wise was Jim Broadbent, who plays the owner of the shop, who's very cute. So anyway, Paddington, so good. Okay, so that was my little re-watch throwback watching with Adam.
Sure, good job.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Okay. All right. So now I think we could just do a recap of what everybody watched. So aside from Paddington, I watched Evil Season 4, which is on Paramount Plus. I watched Outer Range Season 2, which is on Prime Video. And I watched the documentary Outstanding, A Comedy Revolution, which is on Netflix. And then also recommend the stand-up special Stand Out, an LGBTQ plus celebration, which is on Netflix as well.
Okay. And I watched on Hulu season 3, The Bear, and on Netflix, Tell Them You Love Me documentary. And then on HBO Max, I watched The 6 Schizophrenic Brothers.
And I watched Fast X on Amazon, as well as Aniara on Hulu and Dragonslayer on Pluto.
I went to the theater and saw A Quiet Place day 1, and then on Hoopla, you can watch The Choice.
Nice. Okay. So thank you for joining us. And please follow us on all of our social media at Podcast Watching. And you can watch our episodes on YouTube at the Knack Entertainment YouTube channel. So that's it for this episode of What We're Watching.